Welcome and good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Clackamas County Board of Commissioners issues and updates on, what is the date today? July 23rd, 2024. I can't believe it's like, whew, you snap your fingers and there went July. County Administrator Gary Schmidt, you're up.
Thank you, Chair Smith. Welcome back, Commissioners, to your work sessions. Commissioner Schrader is on her way, and all of you will be present as soon as she is here. Your meeting issues both today and tomorrow, Wednesday, July 24th. Today's priority is to get through the consent list. It is lengthy because of your recess, and you have a lunch event that you need to depart by 11:20 a.m. today. So we'll get through the consent first, and then we'll go through the rest of the list, and what we don't finish, we'll carry over to tomorrow, and you also have a list for tomorrow's sessions.
Great.
With that, we will start with consent agenda, and first, Chair, would you please convene as the Housing Authority of Clackamas County?
I will recess as the Board of County Commissioners and convene as the Housing Authority of Clackamas County.
This is Housing Authority of Clackamas County Board of Directors request for consent agenda. Housing Commissioner Leenstra is not able to join you today, so she will not be present. First, request for consent agenda. Item 1, approval of Resolution 1992 authorizing a grant of up to $700,000 in affordable housing bond funds for the Short Stack Milwaukee Affordable Home Ownership Project and delegates authority to authorize representatives to finalize, execute, and deliver documents as necessary. Funding is through affordable housing bond funds. No county general funds are involved. Adam Brown, Deputy Director of Health, Housing, Human Services, and Devin Ellen, the Housing Authority Development Director. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Chair Smith, Commissioners. Adam Brown, Deputy Director of Health, Housing, and Human Services. Nice to see you all this morning and have you back. There was an issue in your packet. The resolution was not attached to this item. It was just the staff report and a fact sheet about Short Stack. That has since been added. But if you have any specific questions, we're happy to answer them this morning or follow up. But the resolution allows the Housing Authority to carry out the grant of up to $700,000 that you approved on September 13th, 2023 for the Short Stack Milwaukee project. You approved that as part of the concept endorsement in September of 2023. This represents our first Metro Affordable Housing Bond funded home ownership project. It will create 15 affordable homes priced for households earning 80% AMI or lower through a land trust model administered by Proud Ground. And the two-story cottages in Milwaukee will be approximately 900 square feet with 2 bedrooms and 1.5 bath. They'll include a compact and cost-efficient design that provides a modern open floor concept that can serve a mix of small families, couples, and individuals. The overall budget for this project is around $4 million, and financing is set to close in August, and completion is expected around April of next year.
I'm looking at the pictures. Well, it's quite appealing. You know, it doesn't look like your typical government housing, which is nice, a wonderful garden. 15 units, Proud Ground. Did you say that there's buy-in with this from the occupant? No.
Yeah, that's right. I'll let Devin explain
how that works.
Yeah, the home ownership model, of course.
Home ownership, because this, as you know, this board has said we'd like to do that. And thank you very much for listening to us and bringing it forward to give people an opportunity to be able to purchase something. So how does this work?
Yeah, so the underlying land is held in a land trust, so Proud Grounds Land Trust. And then the improvements, the building, is purchased by the homeowner. And then Proud Grounds model allows for the homeowners to sell their homes for the purchase price plus 25% of the home's appreciation. So that is how they are able to build equity. And then outside of the brokerage fee, no other fees go to Proud Ground.
So is money paid back to the trust so that can perpetuate the home ownership over time? Because this is a starter home and they no longer want to live there. They get a portion of the appreciation to go forward, but they don't get 100%.
No, that's correct.
Repeat that again. How much was it, Devin?
They get 25% of the home's appreciation.
And do they make mortgage payments, and do they have a down payment?
Yes, yes, and yes. And they have a mortgage.
Okay. But the mortgage is affordable, and is the interest rate market rate, or is it
It's market rate.
Market rate, okay, very good. Oh, Ben or Mark, I'm not sure who's first. Mark, please.
Yeah, good morning. So this is an exciting concept you have here. It reminds me of how Singapore went from 15% home ownership after the Second World War to 97% home ownership today with this kind of concept. So this is, like Commissioner Smith asked, this is a fee simple sale. In other words, a leasehold sale. And then you mentioned that the appreciation would be held at 25% if they sold it under what period of time?
There's no restriction on.
So if they stay
how-
there for 20 years, it's okay.
Correct.
I understand. And the reason for that is so that you don't see a steep increase in appreciation on the buildings, so they can be sold again later in the future at a affordable price.
Correct, and
Yeah.
and the land will be deed restricted.
Got it.
So that
Sure.
only folks earning 80% AMI or below will be able
Okay.
to purchase.
Well, good, okay. And then one last question regarding the financing. Will people who apply for purchase be assisted in some way on their mortgage process?
Yes, yeah. So to qualify for the home, you have to go through some financial
Yeah.
training through Proud Ground.
Okay. Well, good, thank you.
Wonderful. Commissioner West.
Yeah, thank you. I'm a little bit curious about some of the funding that you laid out here. I'm hoping you can help me understand it a little bit better. Just based on that first page, or page 2, sorry, of our packet, it says project financing. You have $700,000 from the Metro Bond Grant. We have $2.7 million in LIFT and LIFT supplemental funds. We have $250,000 from USDA Wood Innovation Grant, $300,000 from the City of Milwaukee CET grant, and $75,000 from the Proud Ground subsidy. I'm curious about the USDA Wood Innovation Grant. I haven't heard of that grant. I know that there is the Department of Agriculture does help participate in home ownership and funding for home buyers, generally in rural areas. I'm just kind of curious about this grant and how it applied to a more urban area within our county to participate in this. I'm happy they are. I'm just kind of, it seems to be maybe a little bit of a different or creative piece of financing that we don't always see from the USDA. I don't know if you can speak to that.
Yeah, my understanding is that they're utilizing the mass timber, and so that is how they were able to secure this grant.
What's mass timber? I'm not familiar.
The cross-laminated timber
Oh.
product.
Oh,
yeah.
yes, thank you. Okay. And I think this is great. I think this really adheres to at least this board's stated goals around housing, is we want to be able to promote home ownership and have people have that ability in our community, that it creates good, stable communities and people get to own a little bit of something and have that ownership. So I think this does a really great job helping people enter home ownership in a time that it's really difficult for people to do so now. We hear all the time that people my age or even a little younger just they don't know if they could ever own a home, and so maybe this gives them that opportunity. So this is fantastic. I'll be supporting this, and thank you for explaining to me the USDA financing piece of this.
Thank you. Commissioner Savas.
Yeah, I'm supportive of this. I just wanted to, couldn't help but think about, in recognizing the issue about displacement and how people are being displaced and often economically being displaced. You can look at models around the country and here in Portland, our own backyard, where that displacement has resulted in people being moved from one part of the town to another as a result of gentrification and just the ills sometimes of government action. So be nice to see at some point that this becomes more of the norm than the exception, but you know it does draw attention, which I like, to the fact and the plight of renting versus owning. And I appreciate Commissioner Scholl's comments about Singapore. The reason Singapore is so successful, and I looked at that, what percentage of communities are, if you look, just ask the question, where in the country or the world is home ownership more the common than renters? You know, what's that relationship? And Singapore is unique in where most of the homes are owned, but they have a tiered tax system Whereas if you own one home, you pay a tax. If you own two homes, you pay a higher rate of tax on that second home. And if you own three or more, and so on, so on. And they recalibrate that based on the vacancy rate as the metric. So when the vacancy rate gets to a certain point where there's not enough homes, they increase the tax on people who own more than one home. So it disincentivizes rentals, essentially. And frankly, understand the need for housing, but the same token, we are building more housing that are rentals than we are building that are ownership, and that is a concern.
It's a big concern of mine, too. It's really, apartments have taken over a lot. Thank you. Commissioner Schrader?
Yeah, I just want to thank both of you for all the work you do. I'm very familiar with Proud Ground, and what their focus is to get people into home ownership so they can build wealth in a way and prosperity when they have that kind of, and it's a fantastic organization. And as far as the USDA, I'm so glad you did a USDA grant, because I have thought for a very long time that we have been not looking at what they have to offer in our areas, and there is quite a bit of dollars out there and opportunities with the USDA, particularly in rural and other communities, to do these kinds of projects. So kudos for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no objections for this, thank you for bringing this forward.
All right.
Up next.
Still on Housing Authority, item 2, approval of Resolution 1991 authorizing an $8 million loan of affordable housing bond funds and the allocation of 20 project-based regional long-term rent assistance vouchers to support the Wilsonville Transit-Oriented Development Project and to designate authorized representatives to finalize, execute, and deliver all related documents. Funding is through Affordable Housing Bond and Supportive Housing Services funds. No county general funds are involved.
So this is a similar item, although a more conventional model, right, where we're allocating $8 million in bond funds to this Wilsonville affordable housing project. So this project has 121 units overall. We're committing $8 million in bond funds towards what is approximately a $60 million project. We're also committing 20 regional long-term rent assistance vouchers, which is an SHS-funded program. This is a mixed-use development positioned above the Wilsonville Transit Center on the building's ground level. And the city of Wilsonville owned the development site and granted it to the developer to create this transit-oriented development opportunity. You may recall, as we were allocating the last portions of our affordable housing bond funds, there were 2 cities. So our local implementation plan set out a goal to have geographic distribution of affordable housing development opportunities. We achieved that goal. There were 2 cities that didn't have projects. One was West Linn, one was Wilsonville. This project was prioritized because it helped us meet that geographic goal.
And I'll note, we are locating these in cities where the need is wanted. In Milwaukee, which has really taken a lion's share of a lot of our supported housing, affordable housing, where we want to. And then Wilsonville. Wilsonville has wanted to do a project for a very long time. Wilsonville also likes Proud Ground and Habitat for Humanity and are seeking a way to achieve more home ownership. For people, I've been talking with the mayor over there. She's really hot on doing something like that. So this is nice. We're able to spread it around. Commissioner West.
One of my last votes as a city councilor in Wilsonville was on this project where we chose Palindrome to be the developer, and I think they'll do a fantastic job. Their presentation to the city was quite fantastic. I remember it very clearly. If you guys look, if my fellow commissioners, if you're looking at the packet, you see the very last page there. That map is actually pretty great. One of the reasons why I believe this specific density type housing will work really well in Wilsonville. And Wilsonville is really unique in this way. Let me back up. Wilsonville has the highest ratio of multifamily, apartment, kind of density type housing compared to single family homes than anywhere else in the state. No one's close. It's over 50% of the housing in Wilsonville is that multifamily mixed use type of housing, apartments, attached townhomes, things like that. And so Wilsonville, kind of being the most southern suburb south of Portland, halfway on your way to Salem. Has a lot of county roads going through it. You know, it's real traffic concerns, real traffic issues, and some of that density has caused some issues on the infrastructure. But I like where this is specifically placed, and I advocated for on this 4 acres because that's west. That's all the transit is right there, and it's relatively close to the city center. It's on the outskirts of the city where some of that density in certain parts of Frog Pond's being developed, and so it meets a critical need that we're trying to meet within housing, but it also is like strategically placed. I walked by this the other day. It's right on the outside of Villa Bois by the Coca-Cola plant. And then that's where the West comes and all of the Smart comes. There's lots of parking. So it just happens to be like a great piece of property. I think it was just over 4 acres that the city owned. And when I was on that council, we wanted to make sure that land was available. I think it was a unanimous vote because it kind of checked all the boxes without a lot of controversy, which is rare these days. And so I think that picture kind of shows you how it will fit there too. So it's a little bit of an industrial, residential kind of fringe area. But I'm excited to see this. It's cool to kind of see it come full circle. Yeah, and I think that there was really good planning around this. So yeah, this is exciting to vote on today.
The planning is unique in that it's so multi-use, all different things, commercial to sporting activities to the whole 9 yards. Thank you for working on that, Commissioner West. Any further discussion on this? Seeing no objections, thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Chair, will you please reconvene as the Board of County Commissioners?
I will recess as the Housing Authority of Clackamas County and reconvene as the Board of County Commissioners.
I'm going out of order, Commissioners, to respect another elected official in the room. So this is request for consent agenda, elected officials, item 3. Again, I'm jumping ahead, elected officials, consent request, item 3. This is for the clerk's office. Approval of an intergovernmental agreement between the county clerk and Clackamas Community College for placement of an official ballot drop box. Total value of the work is not to exceed $10,000. Funding is through budgeted county general funds and recording fees. Clackamas County Clerk McMullen and Elections Manager Justin Larson. Go ahead, please.
Thank you for your consideration, Administrator. Hello, Chair Smith and
Hello.
Commissioners. It's great to see you all. We're here before you with a request to sign an intergovernmental agreement between Clackamas County and Clackamas Community College. We are looking at placing an official ballot drop site at the Oregon City campus. If you turn to page 8, Exhibit A, it'll show you exactly where we're looking to place it. What we're looking at as far as costs is up to $10,000 for site improvements. So that makes it where you can drive up, return your ballot, driver left side, accessible ADA both for driving and for pedestrians, and it's right there at the transit center where TriMet is, and that way it's seen by all. This is a proactive approach because with the courthouse coming on and our congestion that we've experienced in past election cycles, we're hoping to relieve some of the congestion that we have at our drop site here on the Red Soils campus and spread that out so that there's more opportunities to return your ballot and that increased traffic from the new courthouse won't affect ballot returns on our big election nights.
Will this look like the metal drop box that's currently at your site?
It's one of our medium-sized ones. We have a large one at our office, but it's one of the medium-sized ones that we've had in storage for a number of years.
Well, good. How many of these metal drop boxes sites do we have in the county?
So this will be number 26 countywide.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Commissioner West.
I'm envisioning, and maybe, I don't, there's 26, so Clerk McMullen, I don't expect you to remember how they all look because there's 26 throughout the county. But the Wilsonville one where you have that left side roundabout type of style where you can drop off and you can also go ADA accessible. Is that what we're looking at here, that same style?
Yeah, so it's the same setup, but the Wilsonville one is also one of our large ones.
Okay.
It's going to be the medium size, which is what's at the Oregon City Hall or Estacada City Hall. But yeah, it's as far as the driving up, safely crossing and a crosswalk.
Will it be ready for November's election?
It is as long as we get the work done.
The goal
Yes.
is, for, yeah.
Yeah, it'll be placed well in advance of.
Yeah, I think this is
the
great for
election.
access. I think it's smart, and yeah, thank you for bringing this before us. Thank you.
Any further questions or comments? Seeing no objection, thank you very much for coming forward, and don't talk so much next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Chair, thank you for the indulgence. Chair, will you please convene as the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District Board?
I will recess as the Board of County Commissioners and convene as the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District.
Thank you. This is request for consent agenda for the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District. Item 1, approval of a subrecipient grant amendment with Health, Housing, and Human Services of Clackamas County for ongoing delivery of older American Act funded services. Amendment value is $462,652 for fiscal year 2024-2025, bringing a total contract agreement value to $916,640. Funding is through state and federal grants. No county general funds are involved. Kia Selly, the Director of the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Gary. Good morning, Chair Smith and directors. Last October, the board approved a grant agreement with Clackamas County Health and Human Services that extends through June 30th of 2027 to support older adult services at the Milwaukee Community Center. Last month, the board approved amendment number 1 to this grant agreement to provide additional funding for fiscal year 2023-24, primarily because of increased demand for transportation and home delivery meals, as well as the increased cost of food. The amendment before you today provides funding for the current fiscal year, 2024-25. Again, grant funding supports congregate meals at the community center. It also supports home delivery meals, as well as transportation and case management, all of which help older adults remain active, independent, and healthy. H3S allocates these funds to 9 other facilities in Clackamas County, but Milwaukee Community Center delivers the largest number of units, serving approximately 1,500 older adults each year. Actually, in Clackamas County, the fastest growing population segment is adults age 60 years and older. So thank you. I'm happy to take any questions.
Questions or comments? Commissioner Scholl?
Yes, Kia, good morning. The other 9 sites that assist senior citizens, are they as well funded as Milwaukee Community Center?
I don't have that answer for you today,
Okay.
Director, but I
curious.
can get it for you.
Okay, I'm just curious about how the other sites are doing. Thank you.
Director Salas.
Yeah, just want to take this opportunity, thank you, Kia, for your presentation, take this opportunity to just recognize the volunteers that help that program out. Without them, we wouldn't be able to deliver that program.
Thank you. Seeing no further objections on this, thanks for coming forward.
Okay. Thank you. Chair, will you please convene as the Development Agency Board of Directors?
I will recess as the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District and convene as the Development Agency of Clackamas County.
This is request for consent agenda for the Development Agency of Clackamas County. Item 1, approving an amendment to and termination of a district funding agreement between the Clackamas County Development Agency and Clackamas County Fire District Number 1. Total value is $1,174,048. No county general funds are involved. Dan Johnson, Director of Transportation and Development. Go ahead, please.
Thank you so much, Chair Smith. Commissioners, don't fret. This is a termination. The next one we're going to talk about is the re-engagement with the fire district. We talked about this before. Essentially, looking back to 2014, 2015, we being the development agency, had developed a direct investment program to assist our overlapping taxing districts to accomplish a number of very specific projects that were in the plan area. One of those was Clackamas County Fire District. We essentially entered a funding agreement with them to the tune of about $2.5 million, and they had entertained the idea of relocating and building a new administrative facility. That didn't materialize because of pricing and cost escalation, and so they made the decision to basically invest in their current facility, which is down off Fuller Road, and to redevelop that particular site. We've been in discussions with them, and essentially there's limitations on this money. This money has to be used for capital, number 1. It has to be used within the plan area, number 2. Number 3, it's got to be used for projects that are in there. They engaged us and talked about the fact they really don't have any additional needs in that particular area, that urban renewal district, meaning the Clackamas Town Center District. And so they are looking to basically refund this money back to us and put it back in our coffers, and then we will fund them, our next topic, we'll fund them for projects they're looking to do in the Clackamas industrial area. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Questions or comments? We've discussed this before, I believe. Thank you, Dan. Seeing no objections to this, thank you.
Item 2, approval of a district funding agreement between the Clackamas County Development Agency and Clackamas Fire District Number 1. Total value is $1,200,000. No county general funds are involved.
So we get that money back from the town center, and the idea is where else can we help our partners over at the fire district? As many of you are aware, they have a training facility that's located south of Highway 212, and they have approached us with a desire to improve and enhance that particular training facility. The project is currently in our Clackamas Industrial Area Plan, and we have sufficient funds to fund this agreement to the tune of $1.2 million. I'd be happy to answer your questions you might have.
Thank you very much. It seems like this was a long time in the making. We've had many discussions on it. This money is going to go to very good use. Any further comments? Seeing no objections.
Thank you. Chair, would you please reconvene as the Board of County Commissioners?
I will recess as a development agency and reconvene as the Board of County Commissioners.
You'll meet as the Board of County Commissioners for the rest of today's agenda. Next is requests for consent agenda for the Board of County Commissioners. First is elected officials, and first is the Sheriff's Office. Item 1, approval of an amendment with the State of Oregon Criminal Justice Commission related to the Improving People's Access to Community-Based Treatment, Supports, and Services, or IMPACTS, grant program. Amendment value is $274,996. Total grant value is increased to $983,396. Funding is through the Oregon Criminal Justice Commission. No county general funds are involved. Captain Malcolm McDonald from the Sheriff's Office. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Administrator Smith. Good morning, Chair Smith and Commissioners. This funding continues to support a program that we operate that targets individuals that are high utilizers of our jail and ER due to being significantly and persistently mentally ill and on supervision. So it's been very successful in working with that population, which is very challenging to find solutions for and engage with our partners to support them in addition to my adult parole and probation officers.
Any questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
Item 2, also from the Sheriff's Office, approval of an amendment to the fiscal year 2023-2025 Justice Reinvestment Program grant. Amended value is $1,320,076. Total grant value is increased to $2,566,240. Funding is through the Oregon Criminal Justice Commission. No county general funds are involved.
I've been before the board on this one before. This was approval, or the Commission, the Criminal Justice Commission approved our second-year funding for justice reinvestment programs. Specifically, this funding goes to our Clackamas Substance Abuse Program, CSAP, and a modification was made for the second half of the year to expand a program in the jail to support CSAP in working with individuals who are currently in custody and getting them ready to transition into CSAP. Additionally, this funding, 10% of the funding goes to victims organizations in our community, and that was decided by LIPSIC makes a decision on which organizations get that 10%, but that's already in, they already have agreements with us on that, so it's been very successful here, and again, it supports CSAP, which is an important program here locally.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
All right, thank you, Captain McDonald. Item 3, you already heard from the clerk. Next, County Council. Item 1, designation of a newspaper for 2024 property tax foreclosure publication. Fiscal impact is estimated at $3,000. Funding is through budgeted county general funds. Sarah Foreman, Assistant County Counsel, and will you introduce who's with you, please?
Thank you. And I'm here with Melissa Coy. Good morning, Commissioners, Chair. This is the annual foreclosure process where, pursuant to statute, we've compiled a list of individuals who've been in foreclosure or delinquent in taxes for 3 years or more. We publish this list every year. This is just to notify the board that we're publishing the list. This year it's in the Clackamas Review.
Questions or comments? Seeing no objections, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Finance Department. Item 1, approval of a contract with Beckman LLC for the Lake Road Health Center remodel project. Total contract value is $288,000. Funding is through health center fees and charges. No county general funds are involved. Elizabeth Comfort, Finance Director. Jeff Jorgensen, Facilities Division Director. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Gary. Good morning. This is Elizabeth Comfort, Finance Director, and good morning, Chair and Commissioners. This is the next phase in the building renovation that we have for health centers. It's their new clinic on Lake Road. You've already approved a roof replacement and the heating and cooling system, and that cooling system was supposed to arrive in October. Fortunately, it's been bumped up to August. We're very glad to hear that. We're almost complete with the demolition of the interior that needs to be done. So this contract is for the construction of framing and the installation of drywall and other walls. And then that will complete the framing and renovation of the inside. Our facilities team, they are allocated to other projects because sometimes we contract out for this kind of work, sometimes we do it internal, but our facilities team is busy working on other county projects, which include projects at the juvenile building and oversight of the parking lot and courthouse projects.
Gary, are we still on schedule to open the end of August?
Yes, we are.
Well, it sounds like this is quite, this is almost the end of July. They're really going to have to hustle.
This particular project is scheduled, could start August 5th and with the September 1st complete.
And when's the move-in? So the move-in is going to be before September 1st?
No, move-in's already started. Okay, who can, come on, H3S team, give an update,
Because
please.
this is important because when I go out to the public and I talk about these programs, and I say, well, it's due to open in August, I need to make sure that my facts are correct and what's going on.
Yeah.
That's why. Denise, thank you for coming up.
Hi, good morning, Commissioners. Denise Swanson, Deputy Director, H3S. So we are moving in phases. We are already occupying the building and doing services there as we continue renovations, because a lot of it was, we were able to start right away, but there are still quite a few renovations, including the roof and the HVAC. So things are ongoing. We won't fully be in there and operational probably till the end of the year.
Okay, as long as we're treating people there, and it's because we were told it was pretty much turnkey as far as moving in, but things happen, I understand that. It's an older building.
So you're open now, correct?
We have people in there now, so yes.
Okay,
yes.
before August. All right,
So
very
we're
nice.
ahead of schedule, Commissioners.
Thank you.
We'll do the formal grand opening in September-ish
Yeah,
timeframe.
yeah, I think a little bit later in the fall probably, so see how we do.
Yeah, great. Any other questions, Commissioner Scholl?
Yeah, good morning. So help me understand this. This add-on, or this $288K, that's to take care of the pharmacy piece, is that correct?
So the contract is for the framing. So a lot of the walls that were in there before were only up to like the ceiling grid. When you're doing counseling with people, so these are full height. These go up to the structure.
Okay.
But it is the Genoa Pharmacy, 24 offices, some meeting rooms, counseling rooms, and so more confidential spaces.
Okay, so then on the Lake Road Health Center remodel, is this going to be the last we're going to see of additional costs for the project?
No, we've actually, so we have a contract for plumbing right now. We're actually completing the demo right now, so we'll be done here probably this week, next week, for the demo. But we also have a contract that we went out for sprinkler piping, and we have no bids on that. So we're going out and basically begging contractors to go ahead and bid on the project. So that's another contract that'll come in to hear that contract.
Okay, and then those contracts then are going to be funded through the county, the health center
Fees and charges.
proceeds. Okay, thank you.
Seeing no further questions or comments, and there are no objections, thank you.
Thank you. Item 2, approval of a contract with Piper Sandler for debt financial services. Total contract value not to exceed $200,000 through June 30th, 2029. Funding is encumbered on an as-needed basis by the department incurring the debt. No county general funds are involved.
Thank you. So this is a new contract just to renew and refresh the terms with our vendor, Piper Sandler. We currently do not have any debt lined up, but it's good to have this agent on board or on call as needed. We've used them the last couple of times. They help us with our professionalism, keep all of our compliance good, and good presentation to the lenders. So they do provide a great service to the county.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
Thank you. Next, Juvenile Department, item 1, approval of an amendment to the intergovernmental agreement with the Oregon Health Authority for extending behavioral rehabilitation services reimbursements effective July 31st, 2024 through April 30th, 2026. Funding is through the Oregon Health Authority. No county general funds are involved. Christina McMahon, Director of the Juvenile Department. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Gary. Good morning, Commissioner Chair Smith, Commissioners. I'm Christina McMahon, Juvenile Department Director, and today I'm here to ask you to approve this amendment to an intergovernmental agreement that we've had for several years with the Oregon Health Authority. And the sole reason we need to come before you is to extend the term. There's no change in the reimbursement rate, et cetera. So I would ask that you approve this because it's a very important source of our funding for resources for young people. We use this funding, we use this agreement to get reimbursed through Medicaid dollars to help pay for some of our out-of-home placements for young people. So my request is that you approve this amendment. Or I'm sorry, for it to be on the consent agenda.
Yes. Questions or comments? Seeing no objections, thank you.
Item 2, approval of an intergovernmental agreement with Marion County for juvenile detention services at the Marion County Juvenile Detention Facility. Agreement value not to exceed $1,588,000 for fiscal period August 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2026. Funding is through the Oregon Youth Authority and $205,040 in budgeted county general funds.
Thank you, Gary. This is for the new agreement, the new IGA with the Marion County Juvenile Detention Facility. So we are departing from our long-standing contractual relationship with Multnomah County effective October 4th. You might recall I presented during the budget meeting this spring that we were required to give a 6-month notice to Multnomah County. So we have a period of time where we're going to have access to the Multnomah County beds, and we have to begin our new contract on August 1 with Marion County. So after October 4th, we won't have any continuing obligation to Multnomah County. So the difference is we will cease paying $544 a day as of October 4th, and we will only be paying $210 a day to Marion County. So this is a significant cost savings this year, but an even bigger savings to us next year when we are not still meeting our notice obligation to Multnomah County. So I would ask that you approve this being put on the business meetings agenda, consent agenda, so that we can go ahead and start it next week on August 1st, placing young people in the Marion County Detention Facility.
Thank you. Commissioner West.
Thank you. Ms. McMahon, I have a couple questions. It says here in our packet, give me a second, because there's a, let's see, Risk of safety awaiting the process. Okay, it says, and we're awaiting further processing. Let's see, juveniles who are considered to pose a community safety risk. Okay, and they are awaiting processing in the juvenile court system.
Right.
It says here that it's for 6 years. Is that standard? I know a lot of times we like to have a little, not such a long term in an agreement, so if we need to renegotiate, we have that flexibility. 6 years for, wait, hold on. Contract with Multnomah County. Oh, we were with Multnomah County over the last 6 years. How long is this agreement with Marion County and looking at these, is what I'm trying to ask, and looking at negotiating these things again?
Right. This agreement with Marion County is for the next 2 years.
2 years, okay.
Right.
I had conversations with Commissioner Bethel about this out of Marion County. I think this is a great relationship. I just think even inherently we have a lot more in common in how we want to approach these types of issues with Marion County than maybe we do with Multnomah County. So I just think they might just be a great fit, and it saves us some money. So this is fantastic, and they are also amicable and happy with this agreement also, from what I've been told. So this is great. Thank you.
I hope so, since all the commissioners' signatures are on the document. Thank you. Commissioner Savas.
Yeah, I just wanted to give my kudos for being resourceful in searching this out, so thank you.
Thank you. And I just wanted to add, since you brought up the relationship with Marion County, they have been extraordinarily collaborative, the staff of the juvenile department, the leadership in that department, to work with us to try to figure out how we can make this the best resource possible for not only keeping our public safe, but for the young people and the families. So they've been very accommodating, very solution-oriented. So we're really very positive about how this is starting out. We haven't had a lot of time to get this really going. So in a short amount of time, I think the staff in my department and theirs have really worked well. So we're feeling very hopeful.
Would you consider that a standout from other interactions that you've had, that positive standout that you've had with Marion County? Is that unusual in this kind of negotiation? Or have you just found this to be exceptionally different, or?
Well, to be fair, we have used Multnomah County for decades. There is no one left in my building, and we have veterans of 29 years who ever used a different detention facility. So we had to start from scratch and figure out how to make it work with a new facility. So to be fair, we've never done that process with Multnomah County because it's been so long-standing. So.
Thank you. Any further comments? Seeing no objections, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. I just want to recognize Christina for her incredible leadership and how she looks out for the bottom line of Clackamas County, in addition to supporting her work as the juvenile director. This is a significant financial savings to Clackamas County.
It is.
To move to Marion County. And last year, you may recall, she voluntarily gave some of her general fund to the district attorney's office to support him in his work. Bravo to you, Christina. Thank you for your leadership.
Thank you, Gary.
Yes, thank you.
All right, Commissioners, next, Transportation and Development, Consent Agenda, Item 1, approval of a board order for authorizing a maintenance program for bridges along local access roads in the county. Total value is up to $100,000 per maintenance expenditure. Funding is through county road funds. No county general funds are involved. Dan Johnson, Director of Transportation and Development. Go ahead, please.
I'm back. Chair Smith, Commissioners, we've talked about this previously. In fact, we had an issues presentation around it. Local access roads are public roads that are not county-maintained roads. And basically, by statute, the county can only use road funds on local access road if the Board of County Commissioners determines that the work is either an emergency, number one, where we've done in the past. We had one expenditure on a local access road when we had the fires in 2020, very limited use of that emergency clause. Or two, there's a resolution based on a report from the road official, who's yours truly, essentially recommending an expenditure that is justified, okay? Although we have hundreds of local access roads, we only have 3 that have bridges that are over 20 feet. Why is that important? If they're over 20 feet, the state of Oregon does an analysis on those roads, provides us feedback on the condition of those bridges. They provide us recommendations. They can do weight loading restrictions on them, et cetera. So essentially, before you today is a request to authorize the expenditure of a very limited amount in very specific areas of dollars in these particular bridges that are critical links between the various roadways that we have. This board order would basically adopt the findings and authorize a continuing program to maintain these bridges along these local access roads. Again, only the 3 that we talk about. These expenditures that we're looking at, just to give you kind of scope and scale, although the authorization is $100,000, right now we're looking at like $15,000, $20,000 per bridge, but we don't know what might come forward going forward. So be happy to answer any questions you might have.
You mentioned there was a weight limit on several, well, I shouldn't say several, probably most bridges in Clackamas County imposed by ODOT. correct?
Correct. They basically coordinate with our staff and inform them of those weight limitations. Then it's our responsibility to go out there and post them.
These 3 bridges listed, will the maintenance take away the weight limit designation previously?
I can find that out. I don't believe it's more of maintenance to defer long-term liability and failure of the bridge and other
Okay,
limitations.
see, that's a problem for me.
Okay.
You know, I'm driving through my county, and about a mile from my house, there's this Milk Creek Bridge that's all of a sudden weight limited. And that's a major bridge, even though it's on Beaver Creek Road, for a lot of commerce and industry, including log trucks and cement trucks, gravel trucks, delivery of food services, and so forth, but it's weight limited. And so they need to go around, or if they're honest, they're not using it. I'm not so sure everybody that is not supposed to use it is not using it, because I don't know where they're going to go. So if they're weight limited, I have to assume, just from a layman's perspective, that there's something wrong with the bridge, Dan. And so what is happening in Clackamas County to improve these bridges so we can go back to using them for what historically they've always been used for, and that's commerce and industry? When, at that point, do we do something about these bridges?
I can't remember the number. I'm going to say we have 140 bridges, I think, that are under our jurisdiction. We assess those. We address those. We look for funding to the greatest extent possible. I have to look into the Milk Creek discussion. I'm not aware of that. I know that we tried
to. It's right
to.
next to Meadowbrook Store.
Yeah, and I look. Our work is an attempt. These are point expenditures that are very expensive to retrofit and improve those bridges. We look where we can to do improvements to reduce or adjust that weight limit. You know, we've had long talks about Bull Run and that particular posting. We're actively looking for funding for that particular one. But let me look into the Milk Creek one, and I'll talk with Mike Besner. He's not available today, but get back to you on that.
And I'm not just advocating for Milk Creek. I'm using that as an example. My husband and I were coming home one day, and I says, Nate, there's this sign, go slow. I says, oh my gosh, and he says, well, there goes this industry and this industry. So the fact that we weight limit isn't a solution to the problem. We are not addressing the solutions to the problems of our aging bridges in Clackamas County. And it's a very serious issue. Commissioner Savas.
Yeah, well, I think the packet here basically identifies that 3 of these are on dead-end roads. So are they private residents or private properties for commerce?
All of them, I do not know. I would assume they're residential in nature.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I don't recognize these creeks or the locations. They're not well known, Paul, so maybe.
Yeah, the other thing I did want to mention was that there was a time, not all that long ago, we got resources from the lumber industry, basically, that augmented our transportation funding. We don't have that any longer.
That's correct. From our logging, you betcha. Thank you. Seeing no further questions or objections, thank you.
Item 2, approval of a resolution declaring the public necessity and purpose for acquisition of right-of-way easements and fee property and authorizing good faith negotiations and condemnation actions with the Department of Transportation and Development for the Deuce Road, Eagle Creek Road intersection relocation project. Total value is $1,567,106. Funding is through the Community Road Fund and System Development charges. No county general funds are involved.
So the Deuce Road, Eagle Creek Road intersection lacks adequate sight distance and is expected to fail to perform to the county's acceptable level of service standards as the area around Estacada grows. Essentially, these are dollars to relocate the intersection and to add a southbound left turn lane, which will add to capacity within the particular intersection itself. As with all projects that we advance on, we have to go through this declaration. This declaration allows good faith negotiations for right-of-way needs for the project. We expect there's going to be approximately 11 properties impacted by the project, but it allows our right-of-way staff to go have negotiations and start discussions with them. Does not authorize condemnation. Any condemnation request would have to come before you through executive session.
Questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
Item 3, approval of a resolution declaring the public necessity and purpose for acquisition of right-of-way easements and fee property and authorizing good faith negotiations and condemnation actions with the Department of Transportation and Development for the Thiessen Road Culvert Replacement and Kellogg Creek Restoration Project. Total project value is $1,551,635. Funding is through ARPA and county road funds. No county general funds are involved.
This is one of the specific ARPA-approved projects that you requested we advance, and essentially this is the Thiessen Road Culvert Replacement and the Kellogg Creek Restoration Project. There's an undersized culvert in Thiessen Road where Carver Creek crosses it. Currently passes through a 6-foot diameter culvert that creates a backwater and floods the roadway during high water events. Essentially, as we just discussed, this authorization or declaration allows our right-of-way folks to go out and have good faith negotiations for properties that are impacted by the particular project. In this set of circumstances, there's approximately 4 that we would be in negotiations with. Again, it does not authorize condemnation. We would come before the Board of County Commissioners in exec session for that. So, happy to
Questions
answer
or
any
comments?
questions.
Commissioner Salas.
Yeah, I just want to express my appreciation that we're moving forward on this. This is a years-long history of the upstream properties being flooded and more frequent than not. And it just a very difficult, long-standing problem, and I'm just glad to see we're making progress on it.
It's been an issue. Yep.
Any other comments? Seeing no objections, thank you.
Item 4, approval of a personal services contract with RS&H for the Bear Creek Bridge and Malala Avenue Shoulders Project. Total contract value is $539,887.46 through June 30th, 2026. Funding is through the Strategic Investment Fund, Community Road Fund, and Countywide Transportation System Development charges. No county general funds are involved.
So, if you're familiar with Malala, essentially South Malala Avenue experiences flooding at Bear Creek. Basically, the existing culvert is undersized. This project is looking to replace the existing culvert to improve the creek flows and also construct a road section meeting current design standards to allow for future growth and development in the area. I want to highlight the fact that upon completion of this project, we'll be looking to transfer this section of roadway to the city. Those are discussions we're having with them, and there's been concurrence on that. Essentially, we have the project was requested by the city of Malala, and it's funded primarily through the Strategic Investment Fund, which is part of our Community Road Fund. It's projects we partner with cities on. It's a combination of various funding sources, and the project was advertised in accordance with ORS and LCRB rules on January 3rd, 2024. There were 5 respondents to that advertisement. We've reviewed, a committee of BTD personnel have reviewed and scored RS&H Inc. as the highest responsive bidder. Essentially, I'd be happy to answer questions you might have.
This floods all the time, and the flooding is really bad. You can't drive a car through it at all. Thank you very much for taking care of this. Any further questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
Item 5, approval of a contract amendment with P&C Construction for various scope adds and schedule delays for the Gladstone Public Library project. Amendment value is $211,346.39. Total contract value is $33,814,824.69. Funding is through county ARPA funds in the amount of $95,400.32 and county general funds in the amount of $115,946.07. That should be budgeted general funds, correct, Dan? This
Yes.
is not new.
Correct.
It's already budgeted. We'll correct that in the staff report. Go ahead, please, Dan.
Thank you. I want to make sure we're clear. This is no new funding. When we develop projects and we go forward with projects of any kind, there is contingency in those projects. Essentially, the amendment we're looking to do is to free up some of that contingency on the builder side and reauthorize those funds to deal with some scheduling delays and also some additional costs. There's some, if you are very familiar with that site, it's in very close proximity to the Gladstone fire station that's there for the city. And there's some additional improvements that we have to do on that particular property to meet basically to meet building code requirements that were dictated as part of our permitting approval. I'd be happy to answer any. Again, I want to highlight, no additional funds are being added.
Commissioner Schull.
Yes, Dan, when you say scope adds, is that new change orders to the library?
Yeah, well, essentially, what happens is when the contract's developed and negotiated, there are assumptions that are made during the development of that, and then we add contingency to cover things that might not be assumed at that point in time. These are additions that were required through the permitting process that were conditioned upon the building that we are building due to its close proximity to the fire station.
Okay, and the schedule delays, are those delays caused by PNC construction or something caused by?
They're permitting delays. We had some permitting delays associated with it, and we also had some act of God delays in regards to the ice storm, et cetera, that are delays that we have to cover those costs for.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, and so on the Gladstone Library, can we anticipate more?
No.
Is this going to be the end?
I believe this is going to be, back up. You've got one, it's not an amendment, but you've got one more thing coming forward with the shelving. But we are scheduled to open it, I think it's September 28th. Yeah, and we are on schedule for that. Essentially, we'll be focusing on the move once these improvements get complete.
Okay, and the county, budgeted county general funds, that's something that happened last year?
Yes.
Last year, the board authorized it. It was put into the budget that you already adopted.
Okay,
Yes.
thanks for reminding me. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to note these projects are happening in unincorporated Clackamas County, where we've made a substantial investment. See no further objections. Thank you very much.
Item 6, approval of a goods and services contract with Southwest Solutions Group for the purchase of library shelving for the newly constructed Gladstone Library. Total contract value is $227,821.74. Funding is through budgeted county general funds.
Libraries need shelves. That's all I got to say. We have to go through a special contract to secure that shelving. This is in the budget. There's, again, no additional funds we're asking for. It's primarily a contract with this provider to provide shelving for the new library at Gladstone. I'm trying to think.
Commissioner Schull?
Okay, so this was not, the shelving, is that separate from other requirements for the library, like desks and chairs? Is that part already paid for in the original contract?
It's not part of the PNC contract because it's not a fixed object. It's not part of the structure. So we have to contract out for those supportive elements through separate contracting because they don't provide this. They don't build the shelving. I mean, if you had shelving that was a part of the original design and constructed as a part of it, it would have been in that maximum guaranteed maximum price contract.
Okay, and so will we see another something on the consent agenda for anything else like chairs, desks, or any kind of other requirement for this project?
Not that I'm aware of, but I'll check into that. I don't believe so, but I'll have to confirm that.
I'm hoping, that we won't. I'm hoping that we can, we're not going to have any more costs on this. It's expensive enough.
Agreed. Again, I want to highlight the fact there's no additional funds going to it. This was all in the original budget, so there's no additional dollars going to it.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Commissioner Savas?
Yeah, you just said what I wanted to say, is that this was anticipated. There's nothing, there's no excess. It's not a cost overrun. These were anticipated. It's simply not a function that PC Construction is going to do. Correct. These are, we'll see similar things like this to finish the project, which was, again, within budget.
Yep.
Seeing no objections, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next is Health, Housing, and Human Services. There are 22 requests for consent agenda. I request if we can get through this in 20 minutes before you all have to depart. I think it's possible.
A minute for each one, Gary.
Yes, all right. All right, here we go. Health, Housing, Human Services, item 1, approval of a revenue intergovernmental agreement with the Share Services Agreement with Health Share of Oregon for traditional health workers capacity building. Agreement value is $3,579,052. Of that, Clackamas County will receive $300,000 for 2 years. Funding is through Health Share of Oregon. No county general funds are involved. Denise Swanson, Deputy Director of Health, Housing, and Human Services. Go ahead, please.
Good morning. So as noted, this is for community health workers, and essentially it is for staff to participate in the development of a curriculum focused on responding to extreme weather events and other disasters.
Questions or comments? See no objections. Thank you, Denise.
Item 2, approval of an amendment renewal and increased funding to the Revenue Intergovernmental Agreement with the Oregon Health Authority for the financing of public health services. The amendment value is $5,223,452.84 for 1 year. Total agreement value is increased to $11,485,450. Funding is through Oregon Health Authority, federal and state grants. No county general funds are involved.
Okay, so this one is just essentially the state giving us our second year of funding to run public health and all of the programming under its purview.
And we have done this before.
Yes.
Thank you. Seeing no objections.
Item 3, approval of a personal services contract with Advantage Nurse Staffing of Oregon for on-call medical staffing services. Contract value is $500,000 for 5 years. Funding is through the Oregon Health Authority, federal and state grants. No county general funds are involved.
So as noted, this is so that we can have on-call medical staff in an emergency situation like a disease outbreak.
Commissioner West.
So is this full-time or part-time or just when necessary?
When
So
necessary.
$500,000 just so you can have a pool of nurses to call on?
Exactly, and other medical staff, yes.
Our current nursing staff isn't capable of like taking on any of those tasks, or is this, sometimes contract nursing in the industry is a lot more expensive than having like your actual like employed nurses. So I'm trying to understand the cost benefit with this.
Yes, so, and I think you're going to see in another contract we see today that because of the difficulty with hiring in the medical community right now, sometimes in a situation where if we did have a disease outbreak, we're going to need access to more than what we currently have. So this would allow us to have that very
How
quickly.
many nurses?
How many would we?
How many nurses for 500,000?
Oh, I don't know. I can find out for you, though.
I'm just curious.
Yeah.
I don't, it seems that the county relies a lot on contract medical services, and I think sometimes that can be the most expensive route to go, and then sometimes those employees are temporary and don't have the same kind of buy-in to county work that maybe a permanent employee would. So I'm just curious about that, if you can
I
inform me.
will look into it, and I'm sure we probably have information from what happened in COVID as well. If we're
Perfect.
using
I
this.
appreciate it. Thank
Yep,
you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Savas.
Yeah, I assume this is pay-as-you-go. So
Yes.
if we don't need the service, we don't spend the dollars.
Absolutely, yes.
you.
Yep.
That's- Thank you.
Yep.
Seeing no objection. Up next.
All right, item 4 through 13 are for the exact same purpose, so I will condense this to save a little time. Again, item 4 through item 13. These are approval of amendments that increase funding for subrecipient agreements with several organizations, all related to older adult services. All of the funding is through the Federal Older Americans Act and state transportation funds for older and disabled residents. There are no county general funds involved for any. I'll quickly go through each. Item 4 is for the Estacada Community Center. The amendment value is $160,344 for 1 year. Total agreement value increased to $333,662 for 2 years. Item 5, again, the same purpose, is for the Malala Adult Community Center. Amendment value is $179,229 for 1 year. Total agreement value increased to $370,209 for 2 years. Item 6, same purpose, for the Gladstone Community Center. 1 year amendment value is $83,612. Total agreement value increased to $147,525 for 2 years. Item 7, City of Lake Oswego for the Lake Oswego Adult Community Center. Amendment value $161,920 for 1 year. Total agreement value increased to $315,290 for 2 years. Item 8, City of Oregon City on behalf of the Pioneer Community Center. Amendment value $233,197 for 1 year. Total agreement value increased to $458,628 for 2 years. Item 9, City of Sandy for the Sandy Senior and Community Center. Amendment value $112,934 for 1 year. Total agreement value increased to $226,039 for 2 years. Item 10, for the City of Wilsonville for the Wilsonville Community Center. Amendment value $135,320 for 1 year. Total agreement value increased to $254,520 for 2 years. Item 11, for the Hoodland Senior Center, amendment value increased to $235,405. I'm sorry, amendment value is $124,662 for 1 year. Total agreement value increased to $235,405 for 2 years. Item 12, for the Friends of Canby Adult Center, amendment value $323,037 for 1 year. Total agreement value increased to $660,790 for 2 years. Item 13, for the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District, on behalf of the Milwaukee Community Center, amendment value $462,652 for 1 year. Total agreement value increased to $916,640 for 2 years. Again, this is item 4 through 13. I listed all the organizations, the amounts. This is all funded through Federal Older Americans Act, Energy Assistance Funds, State Transportation Funds. No county general funds are involved. Phew, all right. Anything you'd like to add?
Thank you, Gary. Well, I'd like to answer Commissioner Schultz's question from earlier. So these provide transportation, Meals on Wheels, congregate, recreation, and they're funded anywhere between, as you heard Gary say, around $83,000 up to about $450,000 annually. So depending on how many people we're serving, what kind of services, what kind of recreation they have, what kind of programming they do.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions or comments?
I was going to ask Gary to repeat that, but.
Wait till Thursday and ask Tony.
Seeing no objections, thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're now on item 14 of the consent agenda request for Health, Housing, and Human Services. Item 14, approval of an intergovernmental agreement with Portland State University for evaluation of zero suicide framework initiatives. Agreement value is $64,338 for 6 months. Funding is through the Department of Health. This is the Federal Department of Health and Human Services, Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. No county general funds are involved.
So this is our evaluation of the grant that PSU is going to do, and they're going to look at the last 6 years of data, which we're going to have information on.
Great.
Yeah.
Questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
Item 15, approval of an amendment extending the time and increasing funding to a revenue lease agreement with Genoa Healthcare for lease of clinical space. Amendment value is $3,253.25 for 7 months. Total agreement value is $15,373.31 for 15 months. Funding is through Genoa Healthcare. No county general funds are involved.
So this is related to what we heard earlier from Finance. As we finish the construction for Genoa over at the new Lake Road Clinic, they are currently located in DSB, and we need to stay there for a few more months. So this is extending the lease at DSB until we're ready to move them over there.
Questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
Item 16, approval of a personal services contract with Advantage Nurse Staffing of Oregon for temporary staffing services. Contract value is $2,500,000 for 5 years. Funding is through Health Center Fees and Services. No county general funds are involved.
So similar to the last one, this one is for health centers for both if we need to access RNs, LPNs, certified medical assistants, or even phlebotomists. So it's up to 5 years for $2.5 million.
Commissioner West?
Maybe this is offline conversation, Gary. I just would like to maybe rely on contract less and have an understanding about the cost difference if we actually had our own Clackamas County medical staff and nursing and invested in that and the benefit of that. I'd like to understand that going forward. I think it might improve our health outcomes.
Yep, I think we could have Sarah come and do a presentation because it is definitely, we have our own staffing, but the issue is when we don't have enough staffing or we can't hire.
Really quick question. Do you guys find any type of, in the clinics, morale issues when you deal with permanent staff versus constant contracting staff and the tension that happens even within the workplace when you have the staff coming and going, the lack of the continuity and the pay discrepancy differences between similar staff? So I'm just curious about our overall, like how we're staffing this moving forward. We don't have a lot of time, but I'm curious about what that looks like.
Yep.
Commissioner Savas?
Yeah, is this also pay-as-you-go?
Yes.
Okay, so Commissioner Commissioner, I have less concern when it's pay-as-you-go. To me, it's like an insurance policy, so to speak, that if needed.
Totally get it.
Whereas having the staff full-time, 365, would be quite expensive if they're not really in need.
Here's my bias, is I just came out of the pandemic and I worked as a nurse at OHSU, and it caused a lot of issues within the working staff. And so we have something to go, we have evidence, we have some stuff to look at now about how we do staff when we do need it. And I'm just kind of curious how we can learn from those different things that we saw across the state, not just at OHSU or in the county level, but there's something to learn there maybe, so.
Thank
All right,
you.
we'll meet with you, Commissioner West, and then we'll brief the whole board after that update.
Seeing no objections.
All right, item 17, approval of a cooperative agreement with Clackamas County Community Health Council for co-application to the United States Department of Health and Human Services Primary Care Grant. This is a no-cost agreement for 2 years. No county general funds are involved.
So one of our many requirements from HRSA is in order to operate our federally qualified health centers, FQHC for short, which is our health centers, is to have a co-applicant agreement with the Community Health Council, which is their board that's made up of consumers and community members, and Commissioner West is our liaison to that board as well. So this is the co-applicant agreement between the two of us.
Questions or comments? See no objections.
Item 18, approval of amendment increasing funding from an intergovernmental agreement with the Oregon Health Authority for the financing of community mental health, addiction treatment, recovery and prevention, and problem gambling services. The amendment value is $1 million for 13 months. Total agreement value is increased to $16,854,233.26 for 18 months. Funding is through the Oregon Health Authority. No county general funds are involved.
Okay, so this and the next two amendments are to our IGA with OHA, as we are acting as the CMHP for different programs within our purview. So this first amendment adds funds for aid and assist client services. Specifically, the funds are for the Community Navigator Team pilot program that's being launched by OHA. The Community Navigator team will help clients transition from the state hospital into community settings by engaging with the clients for 3 months before they're released from the state hospital and a minimum of 6 months afterwards.
Questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
Item 19, approval of an amendment increasing funding of an intergovernmental agreement with the Oregon Health Authority for the financing of community mental health, addiction treatment, recovery and prevention, and problem gambling services. The amendment value is $211,000 for 12 months. Total agreement value is increased to $17,065,233.26 for 18 months. Funding is through the Oregon Health Authority. No county general funds are involved.
Okay, so now this additional funding is specifically allocated to ensure that the county's civil commitment teams are fully funded through MHS 24 funds, eliminating the need to utilize other funds, including county general fund and fund balance.
Questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
Item 20, approval of an amendment increasing funding from an intergovernmental agreement with the Oregon Health Authority for financing community mental health, addiction treatment, recovery and prevention, and problem gambling services. Amendment value is $498,800.09 for 12 months. Total agreement value is increased to $17,564,033.35 for 18 months. Funding is through the Oregon Health Authority. No county general funds are involved.
Okay, so these are one-time funds through HB 5204 for deflection through our jail services programming. Funds can be used for things like providing support services to prevent relapse, assist individuals as they navigate their criminal justice obligations, and while they make progress in recovery, help them access educational, vocational, and housing services.
Questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
Item 21, approval of a local subrecipient grant agreement with Project Quest for non-opioid pain management services. Total agreement value is $190,908.90 for 12 months. Funding through opioid settlement funds. No county general funds are involved.
So the Project Quest program is an integrated medical and behavioral health program designed to treat chronic pain through the use of non-opioid interventions. So the program integrates things like acupuncture, yoga, mental health, medication management, treatment for substance abuse disorder, nutrition, peer support, et cetera. And these services support a recovery-oriented system of care.
Questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
Item 22, approval of a local subrecipient grant agreement with Central City Concern for Chez Ami Mental Health Housing Operations. Total agreement value is $427,040.71 for 36 months. Funding is through the Oregon Health Authority. No county general funds are involved.
Okay, our last one. Chez Ami Mental Health Housing is a 40-unit housing community in Happy Valley. The community provides low-income housing and supportive services for Clackamas County residents. As noted, the funds are to operate the two-story alcohol and drug-free community in accordance with the terms and conditions of the ground lease. And we've been funding this for many years.
Commissioner West.
Have we had any of the, has it blended or merged with the community well? Is it operating well within the community, or have we had any feedback of any issues?
Let's see if Mary wants to say anything. I know it's been a couple decades.
So we've been there for a long? 20+ years. So, because I know that we had, well, we have the other issue that we're talking about, the property in Happy Valley, and so, and it's newer, so I'm guessing this is just kind of seasoned and it's moving along just fine. It's
Yeah.
humming along, and it's a success.
Yep, Mary Rumbaugh, Behavioral Health Division Director, you're absolutely correct. They're very established in the community, lots of supports already in place, so we just don't have the same concerns. The neighbors are just used to the program being there.
And I want to only say that because sometimes we only hear the squawking from where we have some issues and we have to fix some things and work on issues, which we have a property like that in Happy Valley. Is it Good Shepherd, I think, we're working through, and we're committed to that. But we also have assets there that are working well. And so this, I'm guessing this is one of them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you. Commissioner Savas?
I just want to note that this is on 82nd Avenue, and it's in unincorporated, but
Oh, is it
it's
the UGMA?
It's kind of Happy Valley.
Yeah. Okay. It's a little bit, okay. I'm trying to get success and show where it's going well. That's my goal here. Yeah.
Thank you. Seeing no objections, thank you both for coming forward.
you.
All right.
Gary, we have finished our consent agenda today. Maybe we can end the meeting today and finish everything else new tomorrow.
Yes, we will pull everything else till tomorrow. All of these items for consent will be on this Thursday's business meeting agenda.
Great. Thank you very much, Commissioners. Seeing no further business.
Can I just make a quick comment, Chair?
Yes.
I just want to introduce Chris. He's my young neighbor, and I am taking him around the county today to learn about county government.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner.
Good to have you here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Welcome, Chris. Seeing no further business before this commission, we are adjourned.